Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Inside Tack, the INEOS Britannia debrief from, let me get this right, round robin race day 2. It was round robin race day 1 for INEOS Britannia. We've had a funny old time of it, Giles, haven't we, since we last did an Inside Tack with the weather. We were meant to start round robin 2 days ago, but we've had some very British, rainy, stormy weather, right?
Yeah, well, a lightning strike a few days back, which brought the day to a close pretty promptly. That was reasonably gnarly.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, not going out yesterday.
Because of zero wind and lightning?
Zero wind, lightning, rain. Yeah, not a nice day at all. But
yeah.
Today came good.
And I know you, let's pick up on the lightning thing. That's a campaign ender, right? A lightning strike on the top of the mast?
Well, yeah, I was talking about it with some of our guys. Yeah, I don't think lightning in these types of boats mix too well.
Yeah.
I think that would be seriously bad news.
Considering how complex all the wiring looms are that go through the boat, and we have spares for some of it, but not necessarily for all of it.
It would be a full nightmare, that. So yeah, I mean, you certainly wouldn't wish it on anyone. But Luna Rossa, I mean, what, they're 150 meters away from that bolt of lightning.
Yeah, and that's the boat stuff, but obviously the human safety is what Ian Murray's thinking about more than anything.
Yeah, everything, everything. Yeah, just hence why we didn't go sailing yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Ian, we had a change of weather today. What did we have on the race course, breeze-wise?
Yeah, not a lot of breeze. A nice sunny day. A little thermal breeze out of the southeast, wasn't it? And a little bit less than forecast, close to the wind limits, but enough wind to get 5 races in. So, great job by Ian Murray, race director.
I was going to say, when I saw the forecast and the fact that he'd scheduled 5 races, I thought it was pretty ambitious, and I thought he'd be lucky to get it in, but he did get them all in. Ian, run through the races and the scores on the board from the day, chap.
Yeah, well, start off, we raced USA, obviously a great race, but not such a good finish for us.
Yeah.
Italy, France got a boundary penalty in the pre-start.
Right.
Italy, we know Italy are pretty smooth. They don't make many mistakes, especially not when gifted it like that. And I think that was pretty comfortable for Italy.
Yeah.
We had a really good start against New Zealand, a real tight start, and then they just got the edge on that first board out to the port back, the left side boundary.
Yeah. And
I thought, we did a great job. I'm sure we'll get onto it, of coming back into them.
Yeah.
But then then a little error at the bottom gates, and another touchdown made it tough for us. Swiss USA, massive win for Alinghi. That was huge for them in the context of the regatta.
Yeah.
They're going to be super stoked with that. USA pretty down about that as well, it seemed. And then France, New Zealand at the end, I actually didn't see it all. I saw the start. I think pretty comfortable one for New Zealand.
I think France had, from what I understood, Giles, they had a lead and then came off the foil, and then New Zealand led back. And
yeah, I was watching it from a chase boat, so I didn't quite follow it all. But yeah, for sure, France were behind, got in front, and then I saw they fell off the foil at the bottom gate.
Right.
And then the Kiwis went by, and that's all I saw of that. But obviously, New Zealand sailed away.
An interesting day. Let's move to the weekend already a little bit. We got all 5 races in today, so tomorrow is scheduled to be a reserve day. And Giles, because we got all 5 races in today, that means tomorrow is a non-race day. Is that correct?
Non-race day. We said we're going to try and get out there and go sailing and get a few things ticked off.
Yep.
I'm sure there'll be some other teams out there, probably not all. And then hopefully be getting through all of the round robin by the end of the weekend.
So by Sunday night, round robin should be done, and we'll know the scores on the board.
Yeah.
And the forecast for the weekend looks all right-ish, doesn't it?
It does look. Yeah, it looks kind of similar to today, I think.
Right. I feel like we've done the end of the show at the beginning of the show, but that's how we're going to roll. Let's go back to the start of the show and the start of race 1, us against the USA in. Not every day that you see in a match racing start 2 boats starting on port. Very unusual, in fact. And we didn't in this. We had a split start, didn't we? We just got up on the 4 behind them.
Yeah, that's right. A little unconventional. American Magic were a little late for their entry, which meant we ended up in a dial down situation, which you know, shook everything up a little bit. We fell off the foils, but managed, you know, I think we did a nice job of keeping cool, getting back on the foil just in time, really, to get, well, you know, a classic boat end port tack start.
A classic boat end port tack start. And Giles, onto this first upwind, there was a pretty heated exchange of tacks going into the top gate. Both boats talking about wanting the right-hand side for pressure.
Yeah, that was it. And you can see here, Americans starting on starboard, and we dipped behind, and they quickly looked to follow us over to the right-hand side with a tack. And I think it was pretty impressive how the guys were able to keep the game close to the Americans. I mean, a few little errors creeped in there, picked up a boundary penalty, which didn't help matters, but yeah, it stayed close all the way to the top.
And the Americans, all credit where credit's due, did a really nice job of facing us where they could and making our life hard, particularly on that first lap. But as you said, Giles, we hung in there and then got to, I think, the top of the third beat within touching distance, and we had a split gate rounding to launch us onto the last downwind.
Yeah. So you can see here the Americans have a little bit of a shaky tack here with bottom speeds down to 19. Don't quite get that nice lee bow positioning, which just opens the door up here for us to live inside. And yeah, leading into a right turn for Americans and a tack bear away for us here. And the tack bear away is a pretty tricky manoeuvre to pull off. End up being quite slow, hard for you cyclors, particularly with big sail eases on the exit of the tack. But the Americans have a little bit of a wobble here. And not quite a disastrous crash, but to be honest, not too far from that. And yeah, we got a nice lefty path out of that left turn, which put us in front for the next cross.
I think it did put us in front, and as you said, that's a tack bear away for the cycler unit is big time on the power. Like all of the invert of the mast, particularly in the light stuff, you're having to ease Cunningham's, ease clue positions, bring it all back on, and then the big turn down and catch on the bear away as well. Giles, we then did a nice job of that manoeuvre. Got ripping, as you look upwind, got ripping down that left-hand boundary with pressure and shift. And briefly took the lead on the last downwind. We came off boundary, crossed them.
Crossed them on port. And
briefly took the lead, and then they went out to that kind of golden left-hand side where we'd made all their gains and picked up the same breeze that we made our gain in, right?
Yeah, it was certainly very close for us, but not quite.
And the conversation as we crossed their bow, we heard it on board, Ben saying, look, go straight, looks like good pressure to jibe in, and it's just the nature of the sport that when you come to do that critical last manoeuvre, it wasn't there for us.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Safe to say?
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where, you know, with hindsight, like a lot of occasions with yachting, it's pretty easy to make the right call, you know. And this is one of those ones that didn't quite go the right way for us, and you know, got a 80-90 meter lead, which is, you know, not, I wouldn't say comfortable, but sizable given how close we were at the top gates. And you can see here the angle that the Americans are at. They're in lefty pressure there, and managed to get the jibe in quite cleanly and got around in front of us. So yeah, it was at this point here, it was, you know, it was game on, and the guys did an amazing job to recover from that race on the 6th leg as well, to nip into the lead. But yeah, just this final cross went the wrong way for us.
I think it's kind of a reflection of where we've all been saying this America's Cup is going. Every race from the beginning of the prelims, let's wind back to 2.5 weeks ago, is getting closer and closer and closer and we are in a proper yachting.
It's fine margins, and it's, I suppose, with these yachts you've got to be careful, because you see 100 meters, 80 meter lead, and you think it's a long way, which it is, but in these yachts at these speeds, it's a tiny lead.
Yeah, it's a nothing. So we finished that race. We sort of had a debrief with you and the coaches, and we went J1 on deck. In fact, we got the J1 off the boat, we put the J2 and 3 on because we were seeing breeze up to sort of just over 12 knots, and it seemed like the J1 was done for the day. But how wrong we were as we pulled the J1 back up to go and do our entry in against New Zealand. Ian, talk us through the pre-start here against the Kiwis.
Yeah, it was a little bit more of a standoff pre-start. We chose our time to come back to the line, maybe liking the left-hand side. They make their choice to go past us and set up to windward, and then with a late push us down the line a little bit. And so not huge engagement, and really it just comes down to how well you can get that launch off the line, which I thought we did a good job of initially, but for whatever reason, maybe we just got a little light patch or whatever. We didn't quite manage to make this stick, which was a shame, because I think it's such a fine margin between getting rid of them and not getting rid of them off the line here.
That was interesting there as the start. First time watching this back, as the start gun went, we were both 31 knots locked on yellow, so similar boat speeds as the gun goes. But then, Giles, as Ian alluded to, you've then got the wind up towards the left boundary, and they had maybe just enough gauge off our hip to live.
Yeah, well, as it turned out, it was exactly that, just enough gauge. They did a really nice job of keeping that high groove going and keeping just enough speed on to live off us as that leeward boat. And yeah, it's one of those ones where I think we'll certainly be kicking ourselves that we didn't quite manage to get up to them. But yeah, they did a nice job to live there. And as you see on the boundary, it's so powerful if that boat to weather can live there for that first tack. That's really strong. But being in this position as Team New Zealand it's not a nice place to be.
Yeah,
they do a nice job getting out of it.
They do a nice job. And let's have a look at the next video, because I believe it is as we arrive at boundary and move into that 125 metre grey zone in just as we enter the boundary here with a 17 metre lead. An eye on the boat speeds is one that people would be looking at here as we go into the boundary.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Team New Zealand have a slight edge in speed into this situation, which is going to give them a better tack, and that was really our issue. We've obviously been very focused on trying to squeeze them off, and I think we were just a little bit under our bottom speed for tacking there, which just makes, and also coming out in a little bit of gas from them, those two things combined, and as you can see, the lead can stretch out pretty quickly when that happens.
And the lead did stretch a bit further than that, but at the, call it 2/3 point of the race, we had a leeward gate where we were right on their hammer. And we were, the conversation on board was if they turned right, we'd jibe and turn left. And there was only a very small deficit, probably within the single digit seconds delta at that moment.
Yeah, it got close.
So it was nice to close that gap, but we had a tough leeward gate marked round in there and came off the foil in light airs, and that was all she wrote in that race. But we did close back into them again, Giles. You're seeing performance in the boat that you are happy with?
Yeah, I mean, there's, we're sat here off the back of what is ultimately a bit of a disappointing day because we didn't win our races. But there's some good to hold on to there. The guys were getting the boat going nicely in a straight line. I think you could see that particularly actually against American Magic, where first leg was pretty tricky for us with a boundary penalty, a hard cover from the Americans, and we were still right on their hammer at the windward mark, and as you say, it's a similar thing with Team New Zealand. The speed's there, and there's just we've just got to be. We always want more, and maybe some of the other teams have got to click on us, but it's close, and it's, as we said earlier, it's coming down to fine margins.
Yeah. Yes, it absolutely is. Right, question time with 5 minutes to go. We've got a question here from Will Bank, and
this is a good question.
This is a good question, and Will is from Henley-on-Thames, which is where we know two of our rowers are from. So it makes me wonder whether Will has got a rowing connection and maybe knows Ryan Todhunter or Matt Roster. And he goes, it seemed like the first time we've seen a fundamental loss of oil pressure on American Magic for them to go and lose, go into touchdowns. How long does it take for cyclors on all teams to recover to full oil pressure? You're both looking at me.
Well, you're definitely best placed to answer this. Come on, mate.
So we have
I study it too.
You can choose to. We all have a hydraulic bomb, an accumulator on board. You can choose to use that accumulator any way you want to move any function. I'm not going to get into how we use our accumulator, but what the accumulator does is it can dig you out of situations where the leg power isn't enough to move things as fast as you want. And for us to go from an empty accumulator to a full accumulator, if we sprint, doesn't take very long at all because we're bloody heroes. But was that suitably vague? But it's not about getting there with a sprint all the time. You can also choose a moment on a race course to slowly creep that accumulator pressure up. I know what he's asking here. He's asking about recumbent power versus conventional power. Massive conversation in the Cup. I'm not going to be drawn in on that.
Well, I think you just go back and watch some of the racing, and you can listen to some of the comms coming from the helmsman. It's for today for the Americans.
Right.
It was a point of discussion during the racing and a point of frustration, right?
There was definitely some frustration. I'm not sure we can say for sure that it was down to oil, can we? But that's certainly what the commentators were thinking, that they were struggling for oil.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched it. Won't be drawn on it, but I know what he's pointing at. Last question from Nathaniel Eyes. Have all the our tactical issues gone, and have we kind of had the opportunity to test it and tune it, and how much are we allowed to tune it in terms of polars, accelerations and all that kind of stuff? Giles, you're a tactical man, talk to me.
This feels like a very informed question.
Do you not know Nat Ives? I do.
I know Nat Eyes. I know Nat Eyes. He's very swizzy on navigation.
Well, he knows a lot more about it than I do.
You answer Nat's question.
But I can answer his question. The tactical app is one design supplied. We do put our own polars in, but we don't get to put our own acceleration polars in. Yeah. So we put a full speed polar in, a full speed angle, and we did have an update that went in, I think, this morning or yesterday morning, but this is the first time we sailed with it today.
Right.
We'll have changed some of our ley line angles, some of our times to kill, that sort of thing. And so for sure, we're still getting to grips with it.
That's exactly the phrase I was going to use.
Work in progress.
Work in progress. And I think it's the same for all the teams. Yeah. You see all the teams battling a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's as vague as my accumulator charging recumbent versus normal cycling answer.
However good we get it, I'm sure it could always be better. Right?
We're like three politicians sat here fending off questions.
We always want more.
Always want a faster yarn.
Fending off questions from a very well-informed audience that probably know more than us about this kind of stuff. Yeah. Let's be honest. Next question will be from Mozzie Sales, and he'll completely have us middle stump down the ground. Or maybe not in your cases, lads. Right, look ahead to tomorrow. I did this at the top of the show, didn't I? We said tomorrow was a reserve day if we didn't get 5 races in today. We did get 5 races in today. Doff for the cap to Ian Murray and Mel and all of their race officials for getting it in tricky conditions. Yeah. We expect probably to see all 6 teams out training tomorrow because we've got a big weekend of round robin racing coming up to finish the round robin. We have 2 races on Saturday, 2 of the 5, and we will be racing Ilingi in race 2, which is a big race now because they're on 2 points, we're on 3 points. Yeah. And then racing another challenger and the leader of the round robins, Luna Rossa in race 5. So a whopping day for us on Saturday. Day, yeah. A big day for us on Saturday. Yeah. We're looking forward to that. We'll take it head on, and then if that goes all the way through with good forecast, we'll be racing the French on Sunday to finish off the round robin phase. So buckle up, boys.
Big weekend.
Big weekend. Big day of training tomorrow. Big weekend of racing. Tough day for us here at INEOS Britannia with 2 losses, 2 very close races. Maybe not so close in the last lap against New Zealand. As Ben says as he crosses the line, got a lot of learning to do, and we'll do that tomorrow and come out fighting on Saturday. And you will join us for the debrief on the Inside Tack then. Thanks for joining us tonight.